You know, it's hard to be an expert on everything, and there's so many different types of controllers available. It's kind of getting narrowed down now. You know, it's there's 3 real popular ones, but we have here a Deere GS 2, and now there's a Deere GS 3, and but it has all the current software and all the updates, and so in the Flow Lab here we can actually simulate the performance of the units. So the virtual terminal is here, and the ECUs are installed on the 2KC for both the liquid side and the ammonia side. And our purpose today is just to get you a little bit familiar. We're not going to go into all the details of how the controller operates, but James is here in the lab, and he's really the expert. And so I'm going to be the dummy. I'm going to say, geez, I want to show the 2KP screen. How do I do that? Or, James, how do we raise the application rate? What's a simple way to do it? What is a typical troubleshooting problem? So I'll be the operator up in the cab with very little experience, and then I'm going to ask James to help me out, and he'll be on his cell phone typically helping guys out, but most every one of these systems is supported with cell phone support, and you can get quick answers typically even on weekends if you need it. So your Deere dealer has most of the answers, by the way, so if it comes down to something that he can't solve, then you can give us a buzz, and or the Trimble dealer and or the Ag Leader dealer that supplied most of the componentry. So James, you've been doing this for how many years now?
Almost 8 years.
8 years. And before, James was an IT guy in Germany with Daewoo, so he's got a lot of knowledge on electronic systems, and we have built quite a library. So let's go through here and explain a few things. We got a little ground speed controller here.
Ground speed simulator, right, supplied by Exactrix.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Deere dealers, they've got a relatively new tractor, and the owners, their tractor harness doesn't support that anymore. I have an old style tractor harness here, so it works really good for testing on the bench.
Yeah, so we can actually increase the ground speed. And the screen here, James, we're set up operating at a pretty low ground speed. It looks like 1.6 miles an hour. Is that right?
That's correct.
And this is on the ammonia side. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct, as indicated by the NH3 up here.
Yeah. So see, it's still regulating pretty well. Not bad at a very, very low ground speed. By the way, the target rate's 150 pounds. But if we get up a little bit on the speed, you'll notice it begins to settle in a little better. And by the way, you can watch the pressures come up. And so ignore these pressures here. This tachometer is the speed of the 2KC of the ammonia system. And this is the ammonia system showing here. And so we're at 150 pounds in at 3.3 miles an hour, and it's locked in pretty good. Well, let's turn it down a little bit, James. We go down to 2 miles an hour, and you notice it's a little doggy, a little slow to respond. And that's because that's not a typical application capability, but there she goes. She's 150 pounds of in at this very low ground speed, and that's why you have mass meters, because you can weigh the material as you apply it. So James, what is this set up for on your normal test? 7 mile an hour?
We do 8 and we do 10.
8 and 10. Okay, so let's turn her up. This would be a single disc application. And there you go. Rock solid steady, 150 pounds in, 205 pump RPM. The TIO injection pressure is 58 and the final filter is 67. Now we'd have some boost on that, wouldn't we, normally, if we were applying NH3, the tank pressure would come in there. So that pressure would say if it's 90 psi would actually be 146 psi.
Typically, yeah.
Typically. So when you use water, this is what we have to do in the testing. But no big deal. All works out just fine when you go to the field. It plugs and plays. So there's 8 mile an hour. And so if we went up to 10 mile an hour with our little simulator, there you see the pump RPM go up, 9.9 mile per hour, 150 pounds in. So let's turn her way back. Let's go down to 4 miles an hour, and we'll see how quick that number responds. It should go pretty quick, shouldn't it, James?
Actually, within 6 seconds.
4 mile per hour, 150 pounds in. So it took about 3-4 seconds to stabilize, and then notice your pressure comes way down. Let me do this again. I'm going to turn it up to about 10. Comes up pretty nice, locks in a couple, 3 seconds. You notice the pressure came right up, and the pressure really tells the story. So even though the electronics aren't adjusting in the controller real fast, watch the pressure as we drop down to 4 mile an hour. There it goes. And the pressure came right down, and of course the controller's still trying to lock in. We're at 3.9 mile an hour. Let me do it again. Pressure, all things considered, let's go. .9. And then down to 4 mile an hour again. Watch this pressure and watch this tachometer and watch the rate, and you can see it all come down. There it is. So it's very fast in its response. And back up to 10. And then here we go. We're going to go down again, 4 mile an hour. So that pressure drop is just instantaneous, and that's why you want to have pressurized ammonia right to the injection point, right?
Right.
Because you're locked up with that orifice, and so you need quick response, and you're traveling at 10 miles an hour. Boy, these systems really do perform. You hit your targets right on the money. And that's why you see a lot of producers very pleased with the way the system performs. Now, let's see, James, you got, let's go back up here to 7 miles an hour. I guess you like 8 for testing. So we're at 8 miles per hour. And then you have some alternate rates here, right?
Right, it'll take up to 3 fixed rates that you can program the system for, and you can set them whatever you want as long as it's realistic to your needs.
So rather than using the ground speed simulator, we can use these 3 pre-selected rates and watch our pump RPMs.
Exactly.
So we're going to cut the rate 5 times by pressing this button right here. Is that right? That'd be the 30-pound rate. Now, the producers know how to program all this in,
Yeah,
right?
I wanted to say that when you buy the system with the rate controllers, your Deere dealer will supply you with manuals that detail how to use this screen.
Yep.
And they're pretty good.
So I'm going to go here at 8 miles an hour at 150 pounds in. I'm going to dial it down to 30, and let's see what happens. Now, that'd be a variable rate type deal, maybe.
Right.
We're crossing the pivot line, or we got a area in the field that just does not need as much nitrogen. Let's go to 30. Look how fast it changed. Boom. Just boom. Okay. Right back to 150. Let's go up. Pretty fast change in the pump RPM. Watch that pump RPM. Watch that number. Watch this number here. Let's do it again. Back down to 30. Right on the money. Very quick. Couple seconds, in fact. We have a timer here. James has brought it out to show, and we're going to try to get this timer involved so you can see how quick the rate change is made. So here we go. Watch these pressures and pump RPMs. Watch how quick it changes. And James, I'll tell you when I think we're hitting the target on the money. Not necessarily by this number, but when the pressure comes up, then we know we hit the target. So the pressure tells the story at the injection point. So this gauge right here, even though it's reading 0 right now, it's got virtually no flow going past it. When that pressure comes up, wham, you got it. So let's go from 30 pounds to 150. Here we go. They're there.
5.12 seconds, guys.
5.12 seconds. Okay, let's go down. Here we go. Couple 3 seconds.
4.3.
Okay, let's go back up and see how fast it comes up again. And here we go. Okay.
4.3.
4.3. And by the way, when you hear that clicking noise, when I drop it down again, you can hear the accumulator stage. So notice this in this next go around here, you'll hear that click. Hear that click? Right there. That's the accumulator. How many seconds?
2.75, guy.
2.75. Back up again. Accumulator stage now. There it goes. Now.
2.7, guy.
2.7. Let's go back down, and when you hear that clicking noise, that's the staging. That's the cutoff point. Boom. So there you go. Very, very quick. Okay, we're going to let the 2KC run at 30 pounds in right now, and we're going to go over and look at the liquid side and see how that goes. Now, James, which button do I hit to go to the liquid screen?
Right here, and then you would select the controller that'll be labeled liquid.
Yeah.
And there you are.
There's the liquid screen. Okay, and so it looks like the liquid screen, which is now these numbers here, is applying at 10 gallons per acre at 7.9 miles per hour, and this is what the pump is turning, 125 RPM. So this is the BPOR pressure, and that's the filter inlet pressure right there. They're very close. So you know the filter's good and clean, and you know that the BPOR is injecting at about 40 PSI. So keep your eyes on this BPOR number, that one right there, and on this pump RPM number here. And we're going to basically be running this system at these various rates of 10, clear up to 40 gallons an acre, is that right?
That's correct, guy.
You can make that work at 8 miles an hour?
Not really. That's a little fast for it.
Oh, that's a little fast. So 40 gallons is a tremendous flow rate, which we'd probably never use, but you use that in testing.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And we test at 4.4 miles an hour.
You test at 4.4.
Up at that rate.
At that rate, okay. Yeah. So let's dial in at 4.4. Keep your eyes on that pump RPM. So this lower one is the pump RPM, delivering at the 10 gallon rate. So we're going to go 4 times up. So does that mean that that pump RPM will probably go up 4 times?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So here we go. Well, there, that was quick. Well, that's why these control valves are so cool, because they got this quick response. So we jumped her up about 300 RPM now. Absolutely. From 74. So that's the purpose of PD pumps, is it gives you this great readout here on the tachometer to reconfirm that not only have you hit the flow target, you've done it with RPM also. Let's go back to 10. When that sucker hits 75, there you go. Still coming down, so it's got a lot of storage in the system. Goes up fast, comes down slow. But the pressure is the key. So let's keep our eyes on the pressure. Let's go back up. 40 gallons. See how quick it goes up to that injection pressure. There it is. So the liquid side is probably taking 4 seconds. We'll put the timer on this, shall we?
All right.
So we're going to put the timer on this, and we're applying at the 40 gallon per acre rate, and we're going to see how quick it moves down to the 10 gallon rate. Here we go. Based on pressure, we're there.
7.5 seconds.
Yeah. Pump RPM's not quite down yet, but the pressure up here, study that pressure and watch the pressure. Okay, we're going to go back up. We're going to go back up to 40 gallon. And so watch the pressure, see how quick it comes up. Okay, we're there.
5.4 seconds, guy.
Going up was 5.4 seconds. Let's go back down. It's there.
4.16 seconds.
4.16 seconds. So you're getting a full response in about 4 seconds based on the timer going up or down based on pressure. Once again, we'll go up. Let's try it again. Up.
4.6 seconds.
4.6 going down. Here we go. There it is.
5.1 seconds.
Yep. So the liquid side is running about 4 to 5 seconds for a full 4 times 4x flow rate change. Very quick response. Are you pleased with that, James?
Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and now we need to consider variable rate site specific for both products going up and down. And so keep your eyes on both systems now, and we'll change rate on both of them simultaneously. And I'm going to do that with ground speed rather than with flow rate. So let's do a 4x here. Let's go from 2.2 up to 2 up to 8. Watch both pressure gauges, tachometers. Wow, that was quick. That really came up. Couple seconds. It was a real quick change. Let's go back down. Don't forget, listen for that click in the manifold, and that's when the pressure is really dropping. So listen for that click. There it is. So that's a pretty good indication, just that visual, and
2.4 seconds.
2.4 seconds from the sound of the accumulator. Back up again. Yep. Okay.
That was 2.3 seconds to the sound of the accumulator.
Yeah. So very quick response based on the ground speed simulator, and very, very pleasing response. So keep your eyes on the tachometers and the pressures as you go variable rate through these various zones. You can watch your map will be laying out for you, and you can watch these changes as you go through the zones. Okay, do we have some more things we need to talk about, James? I don't know if we really need to go into all the details, but you've got some valve settings, and how do you...
Well, you go to choose the controller you want to check the setup on. In this case, we'll go to liquid. Then you have to have your booms turned off, master switch turned off, your foot switch. Then you can go in and go into the setup button and see your various settings: implement, system, alarms, and rates.
Okay, all right. And then you got your totalizer here, right?
Got a totalizer.
Yeah. And so we won't go into the details of that too much, because that's really up to the trainer that owns the controller rights. They help train.
That's covered in a good detail in the Deere manuals.
Yeah, manuals work really good, don't they? And you got diagnostics and you got totals. And so to get back into the
Yes.
main control screen, you hit this button here.
Yes.
And then you got your liquid side showing there, and if you want to go look at your ammonia side, you hit this button and you press on
NH3.
NH3. And sometimes, can the producers do a split screen? Can they actually
Yes, they
show?
can. They'll enjoy hours and hours of enjoyment playing with that.
Uh-huh.
Maybe their kids might like get in there and change colors and stuff.
Yeah. So there's just so much that here that we need to make sure that the producer understands that that's really his responsibility, and to read the manuals and understand how to run this controller. Applies to Trimble and Ag Leader both, and Raven, whatever we bring in. Yep. Okay, I think that about sums it up on the controller.
Yeah, I think Guy did an excellent job here.
Well, don't thank me, you're the man. Alrighty.